When I was growing up back in the 1980s, there was this mean girl on the school bus and she kept picking on me until one day I finally had enough. And I ended up getting kicked off the school bus for a whole week. Now, my mama wasn't happy about that, but not for the reasons you might think. I don't know if y'all tried these frozen onions from Walmart, but boy, they make my life so much easier. Oh, uh-oh. Oh, gosh. I wanted to make a good Sunday supper so we could all sit down to eat together as a family. My son Jack is starting back college classes on Monday night, and he'll be gone almost every night of the week, and we won't get to sit down and eat supper as much together. You remember having a colander like this when you were growing up in the 70s or 80s? We had one, and when I found this at a yard sale, I just had to have it. It's missing one of the legs, but that's okay. It still works pretty good. I realized while I was cooking that sloppy joes are such a Generation X dinner. My mama made manwich for us, and that's what I grew up eating. But my kids didn't like manwich, so I make a homemade version for them, and I'll have the recipe linked for you down below. I guess that's just what we do as homemakers. We carry some things with us from our childhood into our own homes, and then we make little changes along the way. Well, I think I've got some more doctoring up to do on this thing. Let's just give it a little taste. It has a pretty good flavor. It just seems like there's not enough sauce in it. All right, let's give that a whirl. So now let's get back to our story. This story happened when I was in 6th grade, and you know how mean girls are at that age. Well, this girl had been bullying me and just saying little mean things to me. It had been going on for quite a while. Well, on this one particular day, she decided to announce to the whole bus that I stuffed my bra. Now, y'all, that might have been true. Maybe it was true. But I didn't want the whole bus to know, and that was just so mean. Well, I called her an ugly name under my breath, and this boy sitting behind me told on me. Next thing you know, I was kicked off the bus for a whole week. When I went home and told my mama, she was livid. She had had enough of seeing me get bullied. And you know how it is with mamas and their babies, even though I'm the oldest. You know, she was piling me into the car and we were hauling butt down the road to that middle school, and Mama gave that principal a piece of her mind, and she let her know the history of what had been going on with me and that girl. After Mama and that principal had their little talk, I was put back on the school bus just like nothing had ever happened. So I was raised by a baby boomer, and my mama did not play. 99% of the time, she made me handle my own problems, and she did not intervene. That's the one time in my life that I can remember her doing something like that, and it made such a big impact on me. Now, wouldn't you know it, many years later, my son Jack had to deal with a bully on his school bus. And he begged me to drive him to school in the morning so that he didn't have to deal with this kid. But I raised my kids Generation X style. And I told him no, that I wouldn't drive him to school, that he was going to have to face the situation. I knew that he could handle this situation. And I didn't want him to run away every time things got hard. And looking at him now, by raising my kids Generation X style, I made the right decision. He's strong and confident. He makes good decisions. He knows how to handle his own business. He works 40 hours a week and he goes to night school, and he's just doing so good. And I feel like if I would have babied him and made everything easy, he wouldn't be the confident man that he is now. also been thinking about some things that my mama did when I was a kid that I didn't appreciate. When I was growing up, we didn't have much money, and I qualified for reduced lunch at the school cafeteria, and that was 30 cents. Well, of course, the other kids noticed and would ask, "Why do you only have to pay 30 cents for your lunch?" And I was so embarrassed. I begged her to do something about it, but she wouldn't budge. And of course, now that I'm an adult, I understand that we didn't have a lot of money, and she wasn't trying to embarrass me. She was just trying to make sure that I had lunch, and 30 cents was all we could afford. When I was growing up, I was really close to my mother, and I think that put a love of home and family in my heart and really planted those seeds of becoming a homemaker. Growing up as a Generation Xer, we didn't have a lot of money, but my mama did have certain standards. We were clean, our clothes matched, we looked presentable when we went off. She taught us manners. She cooked dinner every night. She didn't entertain us, but she showed us that she loved us by taking care of us and teaching us how to behave in the world. And the older I get, the more I understand those things. Supper around the table every night when I was growing up, and that's something that I wanted to bring into my own family. Eating together has always been special to me, but in my own home I made a few rules, and one of them is that we don't fuss at the dinner table. I want it to be a place where we can eat together and talk and just enjoy being together. That doesn't mean you have to have a room full of people. Maybe it's just you and your husband, or maybe it's just sitting down for a coffee and a good chat with a friend. There's just something special about sitting down with somebody and giving them our full attention. One of my happiest childhood memories happened when I was in the 4th grade. Mama and her husband checked us out early from school, and that in itself was a big surprise. They took us to a park and we had a picnic, and they'd gotten some of those big grocery store glazed donuts. You know the kind I'm talking about. We played on the playground equipment, and it was nothing fancy, but things like that didn't happen very often, and that made it so special. And I still remember it all these years later. Mama's getting ready to have hip replacement surgery next week, and that's got me thinking about all the things she did to help make me who I am today. Philippians 1:6 says, "Being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to the completion until the day of Christ Jesus." You know, I was thinking about this because we're all still being shaped. God isn't finished with us yet just because we're adults. Some things from childhood were good, some were hard, and some things we chose to do differently. But looking back, you can see that God was with you every step of the way. It's funny the things we remember as we get older. Now, I couldn't tell you what I got for Christmas in the 4th grade, but I still remember those glazed donuts at the park. You know, we don't have to make everything elaborate or perfect to make it meaningful. Sometimes it's just a sloppy Joe supper. I would love to know one ordinary thing from your childhood that you still remember. Tell me down in the comments below, and I got a feeling we're going to have some pretty good Generation X stories down there. Thanks for being here today, and until next time, happy homemaking.